Hello and welcome to a brief video going over metrics in game design. So metrics is kind of an umbrella term for mathematically determining what are proper values in our game space. So if you take a game engine like Quake, like I have in front of you, you can actually use your engine and create a kind of testing level where you can determine what kind of values are proper for many different things. So for example, to start out here is a really good starting metric, and that's creating a kind of visible reference of how big your player is. So my player is the size of this box right here. And this is really important because then you can then base the world around the size of your player. So if I look at this in Quake units, it's about probably 32 by 32 by probably some 40-ish value. So um, comparing this to the rest of the map here, I have my first setup, which is kind of this narrow hallway. So a narrow hallway in my mind is one that is kind of indicative of like going through a tunnel of some kind. So if I take a step back here, I use these red brushes to demonstrate how many units this is. So this is probably 5 by 5 units. And if I step inside here, you can see it feels very claustrophobic. Um, One thing to note about this is that the height of the ceiling and the length of the hallway and also just the width of the hallway, they all kind of tie in together. So these are some important metrics to keep in mind. I also like the idea of having tight corners for these kinds of hallways, as opposed to something that's a lot more larger like this. So this is probably more attuned to a normal kind of standard hallway. You probably don't want to be going on much longer than this. This is probably a couple hundred Quake units, and um, any longer than this, and you start to feel like you're dragging on. So you kind of want to have some sort of action, whether that be a firefight with an enemy or turns, something to keep the gameplay interesting. Um, and then over here, I have a metric displaying what's a good doorway. So you probably don't want a doorway that's too wide or too short. So um, basically, whenever you're in a game, you want to have the doorways be larger than they would be in real life because players are approaching at different angles, they're moving in and out, they have different kinds of approaches. So you just want to make sure they're never walking into a wall and getting caught on something that disturbs the game flow. And whenever you're having like pixel perfect kind of movements required to get through something, you're just asking for an unpleasant experience. Over here, I have another metric displaying cover. So in an FPS game like Quake, you're fighting enemies, and if they're attacking you with bullets or some kind of projectile attack, being able to take cover is important. So it's good to recognize what kind of metrics you should be using for your cover. So just like anything, there's no perfect golden ratio, and it really depends on the situation. But for cover, a good rule of thumb is anything that completely covers your character is probably good. You definitely want some leeway. You would definitely want some added length and width. Height's probably fine. I'd like to keep the height actually low because then maybe gives the opportunity for a player to jump and attack. But you definitely don't want to use cover to be exactly the size of your player. Again, just like the doorway, we don't want to be leaving things too small. We want that margin of error to be not noticeable, but still there. Okay, so next we have jumping vertically. So I have 4 different heights here, and you can tell that there's a very slight difference in the height between each one, but each difference in height actually makes a huge difference. So if I look at this first one, it's a very simple jump. It's very basic. It's pretty hard to miss this one in a standard playthrough. This next one, it's pretty close to the same thing as before, but you might get your feet caught if you jump too late, so you have to be a bit more careful. This third one's where things start getting tricky, and again, if I jump too late, I'm gonna get my feet on this. But it's still reasonable to get on top of it. It might take a couple tries. And then this last one's probably not going to be possible, or it's going to be very tricky to do that. So you probably want to stick to this first two. So this one's probably 1632 Quake units tall, and this one's going to be 40 units tall. So keeping it in this small range is going to be helpful. Again, avoiding bigger jumps. On the topic of bigger jumps, I have 2 setups here involving a short and simple jump, and then a long and hard jump. So looking at the two, there's actually not that much of a difference. And I think that's notable because the difference between a good jump that just feels natural and easy is very minuscule in terms of difference from a very difficult jump. So if I approach this, what should happen is the second my viewport cuts out the ground, I should probably be able to make that jump. So if I approach here, the second the floor disappears from my viewing, I should be able to jump and I should be able to make that. So again, increasing the margin of error for the player. You never want to make something that's pixel perfect. It's just completely awful. Even in games that really focus on precision and tight jumping, never use pixel perfect jumps. It's just not fun. Um, so here's a more difficult jump. You want to use these sparingly. It really depends on the kind of experience you're creating, of course. If you're working on a precision-based platforming game, then maybe you do want more precise and hard jumps. Um, but also just be sure to incorporate some easy ones that feel natural and make the gameplay feel more fluid. And so in this last section here, I'm going to be going over some angles in ramps. So one thing that's nice about determining angles is in any game engine, you can find an angle by using triangle ratios. So here I have these ramps, and by determining the ratio of the sides, you can actually find out the angle. So right here I have a triangle that's 3 units by 3 units, as you can see these blocks. Um, and this is going to create a 45-degree angle. So a 45-degree angle is pretty steep, and you can see that as I stand up, my player kind of slides down. And then if I extrapolate this, so if I just increase the values but keep the ratio the same, you can see that this becomes pretty uh, unreal. It doesn't seem very normal to walk up something like this, and it just feels very unimmersive. On the flip side, if you look over here, I have something that's about 3 to 2 units. So this is only 1 unit shorter. And again, if I extrapolate this, you can see that it makes quite the big difference. So this probably still feels maybe a bit too tall, but again, it's a lot more reasonable. It's a lot more understanding. So if you use this 3 to 2 ratio or 2 to 3 ratio, however you want to look at it, anything smaller than that is probably going to be okay. You probably want to aim around the ratio of maybe 5 to 3, somewhere in there as your max angle. You really don't want to be going higher than this because at that point you're, again, creating a really awkward ramp. Again, there are some cases where maybe it's reasonable to do so. Maybe if you're trying to make a slope that you slide down, then that makes sense to do that. But if you're walking up a slope, you don't want to be going higher than that ratio. So that's just a brief overview of how metrics can be used to help design games and level design because, again, having an understanding of what are intuitively good metrics is going to really help you iterate and develop levels. So thank you so much for watching.